Hi, I'm Lindsay, and this is Kinda Healthy Podcast. Today I'm talking with Megan. Megan recently started a YouTube channel called Megan Ann, and usually that's not a big deal, but then she released a video titled My 315-Pound Life plus Why the Fat Acceptance Movement Kinda Sucks. That video got the attention of John from Obese to Beast, and he reacted to her video. I saw that video, and I thought she had a lot of good things to say. I reached out and asked her to be on today, so yeah. Here's my conversation with Megan. So how you been doing? I mean, you tried to do something innocent enough and just make a YouTube channel.
Yeah, just because I was bored. Like that's literally all that happened was I was
Yeah.
just bored and I felt like I was like living at home or living at work. And so I wanted to do something different and now things are happening. And now I'm being called upon to edit videos at work now, so that's fun.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's okay.
oh yeah. So like, how many videos had you made before you made the one that really got attention on you?
Five?
Five?
Five? Let me see here. Enough to count.
Yeah.
Let me see. I had made oh no, I made one, two, three, yeah, five, because that was my sixth video.
Wow.
So yeah. And I had 67 subscribers on that Monday, and now on this Thursday, after like almost 2 weeks, I have almost 2,000. So
Oh my God.
yeah, I have 1,840 right now. So
How long did you have the idea for that video? Did you think about it and then kind of was like, I don't know?
Yeah. So I knew that I wanted to make a video on that topic. It was already kind of like brewing in the back of my mind. And then John reacted to another girl talking about how the fat acceptance movement basically like helped her perpetuate her bad habits for long enough that she had a gallbladder attack. And so I was like pissed after that. Like I was super mad.
Right.
And I was like, okay, it's happening. And so the next day I went to the gym and I was like, okay, I'm filming it tonight. And then so I typed up a script really quick, or like just points.
Right.
And then I made it. So yeah. And I mean 1,800 subscribers like isn't a lot, but like in that amount of time, it's a lot. Like it was so weird. And just getting the I guess validation from someone that I had followed for so long was so cool.
Yeah. And it's got to be crazy to have a message you feel like you need to get out there and then have people be so receptive to it.
And I was terrified. Like I was really scared because if you tag anything as like fat acceptance or body positivity on any social media platform and it's not saying what they want it to say, you will get annihilated. And so I was like, I posted a survey on my Instagram with like the people that followed me that I was just friends with.
Yeah.
Being like, hey, should I make this video? And the majority of it was like, yes. But then there were quite a few though that said no. And they were people that I knew like personally. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to piss these people off. So I was really scared.
Right.
And I was really scared when he was reacting to it live because I didn't know what he was gonna say.
Yeah.
and
here's where she's wrong.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, this is really scary because he was streaming to like 1,000 people and I knew he was gonna post it on his channel because that's what he always did.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, this could go really badly or really well. I don't know which one it's gonna be.
So it's been like overwhelmingly positive though, huh?
Everybody has been so kind, like in my comments and in my DMs and on the comments on both of his videos that that he posted, and it's just been like super overwhelming, and like the like to dislike ratio and stuff on everything on his channel is really good. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's gotta
I
be.
just wasn't expecting that much of a reception at all, and then that much of a positive reception.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
It's
what
pretty
is
cool.
it like to like see yourself in his thumbnail, but then also to like to
That
have
was
that
like,
label
yeah,
too of like fat acceptance
yeah.
activist speaks out.
I know. And I was afraid when he like labeled me that,
Right.
because like I said, like I in like the interview that we did, I was very much like a silent kind of believer. So
Yeah.
like it wasn't, I didn't preach it really to other people,
Mhm.
and because I'm never like that about things that I believe in, because I just think that's annoying. Like, people are going to believe what they're going to believe,
Yeah, I
and
feel the exact same way.
that's it. um Unless it's something like absolutely ludicrous that's like political, and I'm like, dude, this isn't cool.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, with that, I was very silent about it. I never really talked to my friends about it. None of that. It was more just like a personal set of beliefs that I had, and that just kept getting like egged on by the fat acceptance movement.
Right.
And yeah, so I was really scared that when he labeled me that, and then so that's why in the interview I kind of cleared it up, and I was like, I wasn't like outwardly an activist. I just like had this set of beliefs, but I felt like I was kind of being an activist in my video because I know that there's a lot of people out there like that do silently like believe and think these things,
Right.
but they just don't talk about it.
Right.
And so that's why I felt the need to like say something. And I was kind of happy that I was able to bring up those people
Mhm.
that are so like enthralled with it on social media, but don't talk about it to anybody else.
Right.
Because I feel like the loudest people, like the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I feel like the loudest people get the most attention.
Mhm.
And I think too, sorry, I'm like spiraling right now. I think too, when you're like believing these things and and not being so loud about them, I think it also kind of makes you realize not how like, or it doesn't help you, it makes you blind to how ridiculous it is.
Right.
Because it's just like going on internally.
Yeah, almost like if
And
you spoke
so
up about it to somebody around you, they'd
yeah,
be like,
they'd be
or
like, this doesn't make sense.
yeah.
And that's kind of what happened with me. Was I started following like weight loss influencers and John, and he was very vocal about how bad the fat acceptance movement was. And I'm like, Megan, you believe all these things, and it's kind of like half-ass backwards. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Right.
And then I got the news about like my liver not working correctly and how that could go. And so then I had to start challenging my own beliefs, which was really hard, to actually do something positive for myself. And along with your podcast, I need to get back to her. I got asked to be at a different podcast about like being in not being in a cult, but like being in like a certain way of thinking.
Yeah.
That's like negative and not cult like, but like just bad ways of thinking. Like, she wants to focus on like religion and like other social media like movements, because there are a lot of them besides even the fat acceptance one. But she saw me talk about how I was kind of like a silent believer in all of this stuff, and she wants me to talk about that too.
What's that
Which is
podcast?
cool. What is it called? Oh, I can't remember what it's called. Let me see. I've been talking to so many people on Instagram. It's insane. I'm like, wow, I'm so popular. No, I'm really not. It's just
well,
me.
you are, but it's gotta
like,
be
I
so
don't
weird
feel
to like have
it.
the attention of everybody.
Yeah, I don't feel like it. Like, it's a cool problem to have, but it's just very weird. Let me see. It's called I don't think she's even like made the podcast either. It's kind of like this. Like it's a new podcast. I can't remember what it's. I don't think she has a name for it yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that sounds like a really interesting
Yeah.
line of thought to be going down with it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so she said, I'm creating a podcast where I talk to people or I talk with people about their experiences being involved in belief systems or communities that were in some way harmful. The best word may be cultish, although what they were involved in need not actually be a cult. Basically anything that was fundamental to your worldview or dominated your relational dynamics or decisions that you came to realize was actually harmful and totally misaligned with what you now conceive of reality. I am very curious to have folks tell the story of the crisis of faith, realizations they had about themselves and reality or whatever else, and breaking away the experience. These groups' ideologies don't necessarily have to be fringe, but I think often stories like these do stem from that. I just thought it was really interesting because I think like a lot of people in the fat acceptance thing don't even realize like how bad it actually is for them, and even just believing in it and not like shouting it to the rooftops is really harmful.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, because you can love yourself but not like the way you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and like me and John talked about, like, losing weight and getting healthy is one of the biggest acts of self-love that I think you can do. And it doesn't even have to be losing weight, just getting healthy.
Right.
Like being healthy
Yeah.
is one of the biggest acts of self-love that you can do in all aspects. Like I remember in health class in college, we learned about like financial health too, and that's important
Right.
because it contributes to psychological, which contributes to physical. It's like, yeah. So I just think being healthy in general is one of the biggest things, like forms of self-love that you can
Right.
do.
I mean, because
Yeah.
just because you think there are areas that you would like to change or improvements you'd like to make doesn't mean that's a total admittance of failure on your part
No.
either. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
seem to like make things part of their persona so much that trying to make any kind of change seems like I'm being a fraud, then I must not be what I'm saying I am.
Yeah, and I felt that way when I first thought about starting to lose weight, especially when I first started to think about having weight loss surgery, because my whole life I had been told like how well I carried my weight, how confident I was, like how my size just didn't seem to bother me or matter, like people didn't think I cared about it. And so saying to people that like, okay, I want to change, that was really weird. And also for me, it was admitting that I was wrong.
Right.
And because I'm not a person that likes to admit when I was wrong.
Did it ever like hold you back from anything, but nobody realized it? Like, did you ever not want to go somewhere because you knew it was going to be a big thing and you'd have to dress up or,
Absolutely. It wasn't even dressing because I've always liked fashion and I've always liked that. That never bothered me. It was more if it was going to involve like physical activity.
Okay.
So like I'm from Michigan and I'm from very up north Michigan. I'm from the Upper Peninsula, which like people think is either part of Canada or Wisconsin or just like doesn't exist.
Right.
So we get a lot of snow. And so like sledding is a big thing where I'm from, and my friends would always want to go sledding. And I would go sledding with like my dad, but I would not go sledding with my friends because I did not want to be the weakest one in the group because a lot of my friends were like athletic people and I was not. And I even stopped doing like that kind of stuff with my parents or my family because I just felt embarrassed because I couldn't do it to the to the level that I felt like I should be able to.
Right.
And yeah, whereas now, even if I don't know if I'll be able to do it, like I'll try anything. Like I don't really care.
Right.
Yeah. So it wasn't more like I was afraid to be seen. It was more like I was afraid to be seen, but in that kind of a capacity. Like not being able to do things that other people could.
Right.
Um, because trekking around in the snow is really hard. Like it's just like, especially in our snow because it's lake effect snow, so it's super like mushy and
Oh.
gross. Yeah.
Gross.
But yeah. But yeah, like I love being outside now, and I love going to do all those kinds of things. And now that I live in Colorado, it's everywhere. But like when I was younger, I never wanted to do any of that because I was afraid of embarrassing myself of just by functioning, really.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. That was yeah. That was not fun. Now I feel like I'll do anything. Like my friend wants to take me to hike a 13er here. And I'm like, sure, why not? Like, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
going to be able to do it, but why not?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My first hike was a very big one back at home. It was like probably one of the harder hikes back in my hometown. And I did it at 290 pounds. And my dad was like, we can turn around. We can turn around. I'm like, no, we're not turning around. And at that point, I had lost like 30-ish pounds. And I'm like, okay, Megan, if you could do that, you could you can do what you want to do now. It's fine because you weigh like almost 100 pounds less than you did then. So yeah,
Did you
yeah.
ever have a problem with eating, like with maybe a trigger like boredom or emotional
Oh,
eating?
I still do. So like my whole family, we are just emotional eaters. Like that's just how it always has been, and it's probably how it always will be. I still am an emotional eater. I don't do it as badly anymore. I find now if I'm stressed, I've learned to go to the gym or something, but that doesn't always happen. And then me and my dad, we are both huge eaters when we're tired. Like when we're tired, we just snack and snack and snack. And uh, that is something I also kind of had to learn not to do
Hmm.
because it would just make me feel not good. And so I've like learned to like eat sleep when I'm tired like I'm tired like that because it's usually at night.
Right.
So I'm like, Megan, just go to sleep. Like you don't need to eat anything, just go to sleep. But before I would just eat. And so that was yeah. And me and my dad talk about that all the time about how we eat just when we're tired. And my dad's a pretty fit guy, so
Right.
like that. So that was yeah. It's just funny because when we're both tired, we're just like just eating so
Yeah.
much food. But yeah, it was mainly boredom was another one too. But for me, it was mainly like stress
Hmm.
and when I was tired. Those were the two big triggers for me
How long do you feel
in
like it
terms of
took for you to actually recognize that that was something that
that.
set you off?
I think I always kind of knew it was a thing because I had been told by family members that we were all a bunch of emotional eaters. So I kind of was able to put together like, oh, okay, like that's why I do this.
Hmm.
And again with my dad, like he would talk about how he was tired, so he'd been eating too much. And so I was always able to kind of connect those two things together.
Hmm.
But I just never really saw a problem in it. So that was the big issue. Um, I think when I started to learn how to control it more was when, like, pretty soon after I had my surgery
Hmm.
because I just physically couldn't eat anything.
Right.
So that was like that was the big change for me was I physically couldn't eat. Like I couldn't snack when I wanted to. So yeah. And that's kind of trained my brain now, but I still do it sometimes. So
Yeah. And then you
yeah.
said you had to go to before you got the surgery, you had to do the like the weight loss
Yeah.
thing. So how much of
Yeah.
that did you start to deal with that there, or do you feel
Um
like you kind of followed
I
their program and then you kind of realize I have some of my own little.
Yeah, and I mainly so what I did for that whole thing was I joined Weight Watchers again just to give me kind of a way to track things that wasn't super overwhelming
Right.
because it's only one number. Um so yeah, I basically followed that and I would just snack on like Weight Watchers friendly snacks. So even now if I'm like snacking when I'm tired and I want something sweet or like carby,
Hmm.
I'll eat like fruit or something that's like not chips. I typically don't keep chips around my house anymore.
Yeah,
because I
that's a
will just eat
dangerous one.
them. I will just eat them. And even with my stomach, like with super processed foods like that, I could eat as many of them as I want. Like, because my stomach just almost doesn't even process that it's there for a
Oh,
really long time.
yeah.
And so, like, with chips and stuff, like chips and cereal and all that, like, I can just go to town.
Right.
So yeah, but before that, I can't, or I basically just followed the whole Weight Watchers thing and allowed that to determine what I could and couldn't eat. And that helped retrain my brain. But then getting the physical barrier really helped train it as
Right.
well. So yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. The 6 months was like integral. Like I needed that. Like that was it was annoying at first, but then in the beginning, but then in hindsight, I realized how important it actually was
Right. Yeah, I
because
couldn't
it totally just
imagine, yeah, going
yeah,
through something like
yeah,
that and then having to figure all your issues out.
yeah,
And
yeah. And I know some people that they didn't have to get that. They didn't have to go through that because their insurance just like had other requirements.
oh,
Um, uh, and they hadn't figured out their relationship with food and like why it was the way it was, and they hadn't really worked on that,
mm-hmm.
and they still had pretty good success with the surgery, but it was a lot harder for them. Like we'd go out to eat together or something, and um, I was like, oh yeah, like I could only eat a side salad and like a piece of an appetizer, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then they would be like really sad about only being able to eat that much. So it was kind of,
Right.
yeah, you don't realize how much of an emotional or like mental thing that weight loss actually is until you're deep into it.
Right.
Yeah. So I tell people even maybe if their insurance doesn't require it, just to do that because it's very important.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
hate thinking about people trying to lose weight and not understanding themselves enough that
Hmm.
when they start, I guess that like maybe not, maybe just struggling to
Yeah.
do what they feel like they're supposed to do, and they
Yeah.
just feel like they're a bad person then. And
Yep.
then
Yep.
I mean,
I've even dealt with that still. So my lowest weight was 197 and I now weigh about 207, like 206, 207. And that lowest weight I hit in October of last year. And so I had a regain of about 10 pounds. And in hindsight, now that I have like a healthier way of thinking about it, I know it's just because the way that I got there wasn't sustainable.
mhm,
I was just making too many cuts, like very unrealistic uh, food choices to like keep up with. Um, but in that time, I felt like the worst person because I'm like, Megan, you are a failure. Like, you have gained 10 pounds. Like, how dare you?
right,
And when the majority of that 10 pounds from when I went to 207 to 197 was probably just like water. Like, that was
right,
probably the big difference. And so it's probably like I just gained that back because I retain water like crazy. That's something that just is a thing about me. And um, yeah. And so, I mean, I know it's not 10 pounds of water, but like it's just, I know that had
right,
something to contribute to it. Um, and yeah, and in that time, I felt a lot like that. Like I wasn't doing what I should be, and it made me feel like really poopy about myself. And now I'm having a hard time getting it back off just normal, like sustainably.
mhm,
And I still kind of struggle with that. Like it's annoying, but I also know it's just how the body works now. So
right.
it's gonna do what it wants to do. You just have to keep plugging along and hope for hope for the
Right.
best.
I know. And it
Uh,
always will kind of fluctuate even when you
mhm,
think you did everything exactly right,
mhm,
and
mhm.
the scale will still go up. Like,
Yeah, and yeah, I think for me it was really hard too because up until that point I had never gained any weight back.
mm,
So like
okay.
from when from when I started my weight loss program, like before I even had my bariatric surgery, from when I started the bariatric program to that point, I had never gained weight. I had always lost weight or just maintained for a couple of weeks or plateaued. But I had never actually gained weight. And so seeing that was difficult.
Right.
But I also had to remind myself that I was like a year and a half out of surgery, and my body was just normal and used to how my stomach was at that point. And so it wasn't as big of a shock, and I can eat whatever I want now. And so I think it was just getting used to that was really hard to kind of struggle with mentally.
Right.
But now it's kind of like, okay, like, all right, if I lose this 10 pounds, great. If I don't, okay. Like, I'm still, BMI wise, I'm still obese, but I know that I'm like healthier. And my blood work, again, I know this is an argument that like unhealthy people use all the time, but my blood work
yeah.
my blood work is leaps and bounds from what it used to be, and not dangerously close to being anything bad.
Right.
And so I'm okay with where I am at now. I would like to lose that 10 pounds again. But I'm just kind of looking at it more from a laid back standpoint, because losing weight doesn't really consume my life anymore.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Because it was really, it's like a full-time job making the decision to lose weight.
It's really hard to not make it like your whole life's focus when you're doing that. Do you have any way of like any kind of like passive like health things you do, like deep breaths or anything like that you've heard like helps you lose weight?
No. The things that help you lose weight are eating less and eating more, but like eating healthier and moving more. Like eat less, move more. That's what helps you lose weight. Like, I don't believe in like lemon water in the morning helping you lose weight, or like I don't believe in any of that. Like,
do you believe in getting enough sleep? Like the whole like enough sleep at night?
Do I think not sleeping makes you gain weight? No. But do I think sleeping helps you lose weight? Yes, because it just helps everything. Like, it helps your mental health, it helps everything. And so I don't know, the whole sleep thing, I get it, but I also was in college when I lost all my weight, and I still lost weight, and I got zero no sleep in college. I was in my senior year of college too, so I was not getting a lot of sleep, but it still worked out for me just fine.
Yeah, the only thing I notice when I get severely like a lack of sleep is just I can feel the aggravation, and I can feel the like want for like, I want some bread. I want to eat bread all day.
That's
but that's
and like right now I'm super tired. I've had kind of a headache all day, and like Colorado is really weird right now. There's a bunch of forest fires, so like the air is super thick and smoky, and it's been making me feel like tired and have a headache a lot and everything. And I want bread. But to supplement, my big hack for losing weight was finding healthier ways to make foods that were unhealthy that still tasted good.
Right.
And so on my channel, I have a video about a Weight Watchers friendly calzone that's like 370 calories. It's only like 10 Weight Watchers points, which for a calzone that's the size of my head is very good in terms of points. And so I'm going to make that tonight because it tastes like unhealthy, but it's not super detrimental. And I had my like pierogies for lunch this morning, and they were really good. And so, but they're also not really bad for you, because you make just like simple little changes and it still tastes all right, and it's not bad for you. But yeah, I don't believe in the whole like those like weird hacks and stuff, because I mean, it's not like rocket science. It's still really hard, but it's not rocket science that like just moving more and eating less junk helps you lose weight. So yeah, I've never been a proponent of any of those things. So
I just find that it's so hard for me to work out. I just feel like, I mean, I even have a treadmill now. I got one during quarantine. I had one before and I loved it. I would use it all the time. But now even, you know, after I told myself, oh, you'll love it. Once you have it, you'll be on it. And I'm still like, I don't know if I want to do that. But I'm like, I just give myself, I just tell myself if I like wake up and I do my breathing and I dry brush to like help, you know, your lymph nodes. And I'm like, if that's the only thing I do today, that counts.
Great.
You know, you got to give yourself like a high goal and a low goal. And sometimes you just meet the low goal.
For me, it's like eating decently. And then like if I go to the gym, it's just like an added bonus.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
And by decently, I mean not blowing out like my calorie goal completely. Like if I go over by like 200, whatever.
Right.
It's 200 calories. Like it's not a big deal. But that took a long time for me to get to as well. Was like not living and dying by those numbers.
Right.
Because I did for a long time. And then getting into like the weight loss and the fitness community on social media did not help that at all, because I just got very obsessive over it. It got to the point where if I was in my calories for the day, but then like my sugar was over,
right,
or my fat content was over, I'm like, it was a bad day of eating. Like, and when I have to remind myself that the calories is like a combination of all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're over in one area, it's not too bad if you're still in your calories. I don't know. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like if I do one thing that's like good for me, I'm good. It's a good day.
Yeah, you gotta let yourself claim those small, you know, victories.
Yeah, especially now that I have like lost the weight. I think when I was losing it, it was more important to me to like get to the gym and eat like well and eat well every single day.
Right.
But I think now that I have the weight off and I've found a way to kind of like pretty much maintain it, it's like I can think of it more holistically like that if I do one thing that's like good for me, but I can't do another thing, that's fine. And I also have a chronic illness, so I've had to learn how to like balance that as well. And I had to learn to balance that at 16. So that was I kind of had to pick my battles for a while. And so that kind of just transferred into weight loss as well. And then just overall health.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. One of the things that I do to make like my attitude towards my body not so emotional and so, you know, just like, I don't know, just too many feelings about it. It's just that it's a machine. It needs certain things and it needs to work in a certain balanced way. Sometimes like taking the whole me part out of it just makes you realize what your body actually is.
Yeah.
And it needs, you know, it bends and it needs to move, and you know, you can't have too much weight on your joints that'll hurt.
Yeah.
You know, so
I am fully aware of the damage I have done to my joints from being over 300 pounds. And now I don't take that for granted at all. Like, if I need to feel strong or like good about myself, like I will go to the gym because that reminds me that I can do stuff.
Right.
And I'm a person that needs to go somewhere. Like I'm a person that needs to physically go somewhere. I tried at-home workouts over lockdown and it was fine, but I did not like them. And I'm a person that physically needs to go to a gym to get anything of substance done.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, paying for a gym is also a motivation as well. Like,
you don't want to waste the money.
I pay $23 a month for this place, so I might as well go use it. Like that's kind of my mindset behind it. Yeah, but yeah, I've since kind of started thinking of my body that way too. It's like it's just getting me through life, basically, and it needs certain things, and sometimes it needs it more than others, and whatever. Like sometimes you get hungry more throughout the day, so you should eat more because I get distracted and like I cannot concentrate when I'm hungry. So so sometimes you need to eat more than you typically do, and that's just how it goes. But I always try and stay within my like the macros and calories and stuff that I need to when I do that. But I've since learned that that's okay, especially from not wanting to eat for such a long time with my stomach. So it's weird how often I get hungry now to me, because I did not do that for like a year and a half.
Right.
So yeah.
So like, how often do you weigh yourself?
It used to be really obsessive. I would weigh myself like almost every day.
Yeah.
Now, since lockdown happened, honestly, I kind of stopped caring about it so much, because I knew it wasn't going to be good for my mental health either, because I struggle with depression and anxiety, and for those reasons, lockdown was really hard for me. Not being able to go out and do stuff, and like my routine changing so much. And I knew that weighing myself was also going just to add to those issues. So now I weigh myself like once a week. Like that's it. Maybe once every other week. But if I haven't eaten like well, I won't weigh myself for like a week after that, because I know that there's going to be like fluctuations and stuff. And I don't like seeing that. And I know that it would send me like spiraling. And also when I'm like PMSing or on my period, I don't weigh myself either, because I retain like my weight will fluctuate like 5 to 6 pounds.
Right.
Like it's a lot. So I'm like, I don't want to see that, because I know it's not true. So I know it's not real, but my mind will just fixate on it if I do see it. So yeah. But yeah, I weigh myself like once a week.
Yeah, I'm a every morning person. But only because it's not because, I mean, it has been in the past, because I'm obsessive about it and I want to see it go down, down, down. But now it's more a case of I'm just tracking the patterns of how it's going. And it's funny, because after a while of doing that, I do see like I'll get to my lowest weight, and then the next few days I'll either stay there or go up a few ounces every day for like a week, and then it goes down again. So like seeing that helps me realize that even when it's going up, I know this is part of the pattern, that it's going to go boom, and then
I got to know that really well when I was like actively losing weight, because there would be like weeks where I didn't lose anything, and then I would weigh in literally like a week later and I'd be down like 4 pounds from the week prior. And so I always thought weight loss would be like this linear thing, but really I just kind of like plateaued for a couple weeks, and then I'd be down like 3 pounds, and it'd be the same thing every week. And after that, I kind of learned like how my body fluctuates like you. And so that's why I don't really worry about the scale so much anymore, because I just know that there's so many fluctuations.
I was just always afraid
once a week is enough.
I was always afraid I'd be getting on the scale on the day it was just up again, and I never see the downs. And I worry about that too sometimes. Like if I stepped on it and it's like considerably up, then I will weigh myself like once a day for the next few days, just to see if that's truly where I am, or if it was just like some random fluctuation. But yeah, I try not to obsess over it anymore, because it did get really obsessive for a while. Like it would get to the point where I'd weigh myself in the morning and at night, and that was not healthy. Oh, wow.
So but I was able to catch myself like when it was starting to get really bad, be like, Megan, calm down.
Right.
It's not that serious. Yeah, and it's just more too, I've learned how important feeling healthy and acting healthy is, in comparison to like a number, So yeah, and it's also hard for me too, because I know that I probably have like 5 to 6 or maybe even 7 pounds of skin on me and subcutaneous fat that I can't do anything about. So that I would like to get removed. Yeah. So it's kind of hard weighing myself then as well.
Yeah, I really hate to think of people thinking that they'll treat themselves better once they get to a goal that, or a milestone, that once I lose, such and such amount of weight, then I'll
Mm-hmm.
start acting happier and I'll start going
Yeah.
out and doing more, or I'll wait until I lose another 20 pounds and then I'll buy that shirt I like. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Instead of treating
I would
yourself
do
well
that.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that with like clothes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because for me growing up, food was a way to celebrate everything. Like anything and everything could be celebrated with food, which for like, I mean, I still think of it that way. Like but it's not every little thing. It's like big things, like birthdays and stuff like that. Um, but I learned to kind of reward myself with like a thing or like an experience or something just to keep me going. But the feeling better was just the added bonus on top of that. So my big thing, which is really stupid and materialistic, but I'm a graphic designer. I'm an art kid. I love designer things. I just like how well they're crafted and how they stand the test of time and whatever. So I knew when I hit 100 pounds, I wanted to get a Gucci belt, but I was a broke college student, so I could not get a Gucci belt. And I just got it like 5 or 6 months ago, like at the beginning of quarantine. And that was like a big thing for me. Like they made them in my size, but it
Right.
was just a thing that when I hit 100 pounds lost, that's what I wanted to get. And now that I have like a big girl job and whatever, like I was able to do
Right.
that. I had to do it in payments. I had to do it in payments, but I did it. And I was like, God, like it's gonna happen. And then it did. So, and I wear it all the time now. But it's like fun things like that. And like I just did a boudoir photo shoot too. And that was more, I have a lot of body dysmorphia issues now. And that was more to like help me out with those and to feel like nice in my body in my body at the moment, because I feel kind of like the Pillsbury Doughboy at like where I'm at right
That's
now, just because
ballsy for
everything's
anybody,
so
though.
like,
Doing a
yeah,
boudoir.
I just felt so like I just am so malleable now because like it's all like cellulite and skin. It's
Right.
not like visceral fat,
Mhm.
so it's like, yeah. But yeah, it was terrifying because I'm not outwardly like a sexual or like sensual person.
Mhm.
And so like portraying that was scary. But when I got there, it was so fun and I would do it a million times over again. And I would recommend it to anybody because it was awesome. And seeing the photos at the end was even better because I was like, wow, that's me. It was a very weird disconnect kind of.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I would always try and reward myself with like experiences or like an item
Mhm.
that I had wanted. Um, and that was how I helped myself not reward myself with food. Um, but sometimes I would reward myself with food. So like, okay, Megan, like you've like eaten really well this week, so you can have like pizza or whatever. Like it's not, yeah.
Right.
If anything, it helped motivate me to eat better, knowing that I was going to be able to get like a cupcake or something.
It'd help you
It's
eat
all
better
about
knowing you'd get a
balance.
cupcake at the end.
Yeah, it's all about balance. Like I posted a healthy pierogi video yesterday and somebody commented on it and was like, oh, I'm eating this or I'm watching this eating like a medium Hawaiian pizza from Domino's. And I'm like, my boyfriend made Philly cheesesteak sandwiches today and we also had ice cream. So like moderation, it's fine. Like
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
thing.
Forget all that restriction stuff. That is,
Yeah.
I could not do
Not
that.
depriving, like deprivation is just so unnecessary. Like, and it's not healthy either. And I know that because I've experienced it. So it's like, yeah, like I never had like an eating disorder, but my way of eating was obsessive for a while. Like I was obsessed with what I was eating.
Mm,
And it's taken a lot for me not to be that way.
right.
I definitely have like a core group of foods that I do eat, and I don't like straying away from those, but it's mainly because my stomach's so used to them now. And so if I like venture outside of that at all, like it gets angry. Like I don't eat red meat very often anymore. And so these sandwiches last night, I ate like 3/4 of like a small one.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I can't do that. And I felt I was just laying there like, "Ugh." Like, this is not good. So it's mainly now because it just doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
So it's not like good food, bad food. It just doesn't make me feel good, and I don't like feeling that way. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I had real pasta, like actual real, like not chickpea pasta, not like zucchini pasta,
Right.
for the first time in months, like a few weeks ago, and I felt like death afterwards. And my body was like, "What the heck is this? This was not a good decision." And so I only do that every once in a while now, but yeah, because sometimes you just want it and I crave it, and the craving doesn't go away for like weeks, and so you just have to kind of do something about it, no
Right.
matter how many healthy or alternatives there are.
Yeah, I know. I think it's
So,
a horrible idea to label some foods as bad foods and not,
mhm,
you turn it into a fetish,
mhm,
being like, oh, that
mhm,
pizza
mhm.
or oh, that ice
You
cream.
do,
And
yeah.
just have a
It's
little
like
and,
when people say food is like sinful, I'm like,
right.
that's such an odd
Or just
term to
watching any food
describe food
commercial.
as. Yeah, it's like, yeah, like I do not watch mukbangs or anything like that on YouTube because the moaning
Hmm.
and the like experiences that these people are having over food is just very strange to me,
Right.
because I have had to learn to disconnect that in my brain.
Right.
So watching other people like just actively play into it, I'm like, oh, this is really strange.
Yeah, I'll watch them, but it's
Um,
just because it makes food look so unattractive that
yeah,
it's like,
if I
you ate it
yes,
for me. I
that's
don't need
the
to do
only
it.
that's the only time I will watch them, is if I'm having like this just raging craving for something, and I know it's not like because I actually want it, it's just because I thought about it in my brain, and now
Right.
I'm like, oh wow, okay, that sounds good. So like if I think of like McDonald's or something, like I will go watch. It's usually like a reaction to a
Right.
mukbang
Yeah,
because I
because they
can't just
like
like sit there
be like,
and
look at
watch
them.
somebody eat.
Right.
Um, but they eat just so much of it. I'm like, all right, I don't want it anymore. Like that was disgusting. I'm done. Like, and
Right.
and if I still do want it, then I'll be like, okay, maybe, like, whatever. But that's how I test myself. It's like, is this a true
Yeah, if it
craving
still
or
looks
is it
good
just
after
something
that.
you're thinking? Yeah, if it still looks good after, if I still want like Wendy's after watching someone shove like 5 chicken sandwiches down their throat, I'm like, all right, maybe I actually do want it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And for me, I can only eat like half or a third of it. So in the end, like it doesn't really do a lot of
Oh
harm.
God,
Like
yeah.
fast food fills me up so quickly. Like unhealthy food fills me up
And
so
does it still
quickly. Like
surprise you? Like you go into it thinking, "Oh, I'm going to eat this whole thing," and then it's like, "I
yes,
can't."
yes. And I'm like, it's like the eyes are bigger than your stomach. Like
Right.
that's the problem that I still kind of deal with. And where I know I could easily order off the kids menu at any restaurant and be fine,
Right.
but I still order like a full size entree when I know I'm only going to be able to eat like a third of it. And that's good. Like when I had surgery, I could only eat like 5 or 6 bites and I would be done. And I would be full for a really long time. And so now being able to eat like a third of like a normal entree is weird because I feel like I'm eating too much.
Hmm.
um, and sometimes I like freak out and think that my stomach is stretched out and gone back to normal, and because that can happen.
Hmm.
And then I got to eat with like my boyfriend, and I'm like, okay, no, I'm fine. Like I'm okay. um, and it's to the point now where if I do eat too, well, it's always been this, but if I do eat too much, I like burp it up like a baby. It's really gross, but it's
Like
kind of like a
the
way
food
of like,
actually comes out like spit up like a baby.
yep,
Oh.
yep, yeah. I feel really nauseous, and I feel like I'm gonna throw up, and then it's mainly just like, like I have to go. Yeah, it's really weird because I tell people like you can feel it like underneath, like at the top of your or the bottom of your ribs, like you can feel it just sitting there.
Oh.
Like that's how it feels to be really full with a bariatric stomach.
Mhm.
And so it kind of makes sense because you don't feel, this is so gross, you don't feel like you're actually gonna like vomit. It's just kind of like a little and then it's done. Like that's how it is. And I just talk about it so normally because I'm so used to it now that I tell other people and they're like, excuse me, what are you saying? Like, like I burp it up like a baby if I eat too much. So that's why I don't do it, because it does not feel good.
Right.
I don't understand how babies do it all the time. I don't get it. It's uncomfortable.
Well, I guess it's good for people to know, yeah.
Yeah.
Before
Like,
you
this is what I deal with.
Before you got the surgery, did they tell you about things like that might happen or what might be different with your body?
Yeah, and I knew going in that the one I was having was less severe, that because I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy, and that's like the lesser of the two big ones. So there's that one, and then there's gastric bypass, and so I knew that that was the lesser, and I knew that that was going to have less side effects. But they did tell me about like the burping up thing, or that like some foods might just make you sick and you can't eat them. And they told me that dumping syndrome might be a thing, but that's more common with gastric bypass, which means if you eat a lot of processed sugar, like you immediately have to go to the bathroom afterwards. I knew somebody who had gastric bypass and they had that, and it was, you basically had to eat like a diabetic. Like that was like with that one. But for me, it was mainly just, they didn't tell me that these things were going to happen. It was mainly just like, watch out for this stuff. And yeah, because it's so different for everybody. Like me not having a specific food that makes me sick is very weird.
Oh,
A
really?
lot of people have, yeah, a lot of people have like their no foods. Like they cannot eat these things. Whereas like I can eat anything. Like I can just eat it in certain portions. Like I can only eat certain amounts of it. For me, the big thing that I can't do is drink really sugary drinks. That's it. But that's it. I can pretty much eat anything. But a lot of people, even years and years out from surgery, still can't eat certain foods.
Is there like
because it makes them really ill.
Is there like a class of food that seems to do that to people, or could it just be like different person to person?
It's different person to person. Like I followed some people, I still follow them on Instagram, where like they can't eat salads because the amount of roughage in them irritates their stomach.
Oh, wow.
And it makes them sick. And I remember for not a long time, maybe like a month or two after surgery, I couldn't drink plain water because it made me feel really ill.
What did you have to do?
I put like those like crystal lights in it or whatever, and it kind of like, I don't know what it was, but like drinking plain, I don't know if I was maybe drinking it too fast or what, but I just would I remember distinctly one day in class, I drank some water and I was just sipping it because you can't drink water really fast or any fluids really fast. And I felt so ill. Like I felt like I had to go home, and then it passed. But I noticed it happened consistently after I would drink plain water, so I had to mix like Crystal Light into it and stuff for a while. Now I can drink it no problem, but yeah. The weirdest thing for me was like salads. Hearing people that like they couldn't eat salads because like the roughage just wasn't
right. That's got to be a really scary process to know you need to go through to find out what triggers you and what doesn't.
Yeah, it was weird. I was kind of scared to eat anything, but I knew I had to do it, so I just kind of did it and hoped for the best. And all my friends were really supportive, so like if we went out to eat or something and I was trying something that I hadn't tried yet since surgery, I'd be like, I don't know what this is gonna do to me, guys. Like, brace yourselves. And
how soon could it hit you?
Oh, very. Like when I discovered I couldn't drink sugary drinks or anything, like I don't drink pop, I don't drink fully sweetened drinks at Starbucks anymore, like any of that. When I first discovered that, I felt it immediately. And I think it's just because it goes through my system differently. I don't know. But you feel it immediately and you just feel like really sick. You feel like kind of fluish. And it'll pass. But yeah. But yeah, if it's like the wrong kind, if it's the absolute wrong food, you'll feel it almost instantaneously. At least I did.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah. The water thing was weird. I was not expecting it. But then I Googled it and it was actually kind of a common problem. So I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't
My
expecting
stomach
that.
just has like thoughts and feelings now, so I just have to listen to her. So yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you feel like now you have like a baseline of like understanding your natural tendencies and like how to manage them?
Yeah. I think surgery was a tool to help me lose weight, but you also you have to relearn how to eat again because your whole metabolic system changes. And so, like, certain foods that I loved before surgery, like, I can give or take now, like, it doesn't really matter. But I think for me, it helped me train my portion sizes. So, um, I have very, like, pretty normal portion sizes now, and it helps me kind of keep track of that more. Like I don't have to think about it anymore. Um, I I'm aware of those triggers like being tired or being bored or being stressed or whatever that I kind of learned to navigate better. Um, yeah, so it's mainly like I have very streamlined portions of food now that I don't even think about anymore. I naturally go for like chickpea pasta or something that like won't make me sick. Um, but yeah, I think surgery really helps you mentally that way too. Like it kind of, if you do it correctly, if you use it correctly, it helps you like with portions and make healthier choices because they won't make you feel sick. Um, does that answer the question? I kind of went on a
Yeah, I
tangent.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, my head has had like a pulse like all day. And so I'm like, I already canceled once and I know I can power through this, but
Ah.
I might just go off on some tangents, but
Yeah,
I
I
know
mean,
that's
you don't
editable.
know
So
it, but plans getting canceled is my jam. I love that more
yeah.
than
Oh, me
I
too.
love it. It's
I
like
love it.
the anxiety of
I
something.
live for it.
Right.
And I can just be like,
I
yes,
know. It's
I
like,
don't have to
ooh,
do
this is like
anything.
100% relaxation now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so I
it's
was like, I
awesome. I
know.
know I felt awful. I'm like, I'm not usually a flake, but I feel like shit, so I would not be a good person to
I
interview
know,
today.
I
I felt
know, and
bad
I
for
knew,
my
I
boyfriend.
knew you didn't know that about me. I was like, she's speaking my
Yeah,
language. It's okay.
I
As
know.
long, yeah, and if you're not the one to cancel it, you get to be 100% like not guilty of
You're,
anything.
yeah, it's like great.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
You feel better.
yeah,
You feel better. I'm just gonna not do anything now.
right.
It's
I
great.
know, yeah, because if
Yeah.
I would hate for somebody to, do something when they don't feel up to it or something like that. So I'm always just
Yeah.
like, yeah, no problem. Whenever
Yeah.
you're ready for
Yeah.
it. Because I know I've had days where
Yeah.
mentally I don't feel like it. I just want to stay
Yeah.
to myself and things like that.
That's
And
how I
so,
was yesterday. Yeah, that's how I was yesterday. And my chronic
yeah.
illness was flaring up
Yeah.
kind
So
of
I
bad
would
yesterday
never,
too. So I'm
never
like,
fault anybody
yeah.
for being
Yeah.
like that. I
Yeah.
wish more people were
That's
more
funny.
understanding to when I do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I try and be as like comforting as possible when somebody cancels plans with me because I am usually the one that has to cancel them because of my I have a chronic illness called chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm gonna make a video about it on my channel. So it sounds like a crock of bullshit, but it's not. Like
Right.
it's pretty comparable to like fibromyalgia, like mild fibromyalgia.
Hmm.
Except you don't get like the joint pains. Um, but it's invisible, it fluctuates, if it's really bad for me, I like can't get out of bed like physically. Like the only times I get out of bed are when I'm really hungry or if I have to pee. Like that's pretty much it. So like you can feel it in your muscles. You feel like really your muscles feel like you had like a really high intensity workout, but you
Oh,
didn't. You're just
wow.
yeah, it's really like they don't cramp, they just feel tired.
Yeah.
Like you just feel tired. And I've had that since I was 16. And I've had to deal with people like not believing me forever. And
Right.
so, because I don't look sick, like that's the whole thing, is like you don't look sick unless you have a flare up, and then you look terrible.
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, so if anybody tries to cancel plans with me, I'm like, cool, like do what you got to do. Like I don't care. I'm not gonna ask questions because I have been asked far too many questions about very personal things, and I think that's why I'm okay with just talking about stuff now, because I've just grown up like being asked personal questions by people who shouldn't be asking them to me. um, Especially in school.
Yeah, so I was just gonna
Going
say
through,
like teachers, because that's what that kind of sounded like.
yeah, I got like, I'm not going to go into specifics. I don't think he really cares about my life anymore, but I got like kind of like publicly ridiculed by a teacher
Oh
in
wow.
school about it, because I missed my like second half of my junior year and my whole senior year were hell because of this, because I would just miss so much school. And luckily, I'm a good student, or I was a good student. So I was able to make everything up because I was cut zero breaks
Right.
by teachers, even though I had all the documentation and everything, and my parents saying what was going on, and like documentation from doctors and stuff. Like they still just were not. They were like, nope,
Was that hard to
you're
get
not.
diagnosed?
Oh yeah, especially as a teenager, because a lot of people were like, oh, it's hormones, or nah,
Mm-hmm.
you're just lazy. And I'm like, if it's hormones, then why isn't everybody around me feeling this way? Like, why? And um, because how it started was I was sick with like some weird virus that didn't get diagnosed until after the fact. And it was attacking we think it was attacking the lymph nodes in my stomach. And so what happened was my body kept fighting it off even after it was gone.
Oh.
And it kind of like ran my body into this rut that it kind of just like can't get out of.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so I would go like through, and I missed a lot of school because of that, because I was physically ill. Like I had the worst like pains and all this. But to get diagnosed with chronic fatigue officially, you have to rule everything else out. And so I had to go to all kinds of doctors, and it was a lot of traveling as well to the University of Michigan, because I was 16. So I was still technically a kid,
Mm-hmm.
even though I was super overweight and had the body of like a 25-year-old at the time, probably. But I still had to go to all these different pediatricians. So it took a year, pretty much, because I think I started everything in January and I got diagnosed. The last thing got ruled out after the day after Christmas of the same year. So it was that whole year of just going to doctor's appointments, and yeah, and it's hard to deal with, like having people not believe you. um, and so yeah, that's why I'm so just open about everything, because I think somebody's out there to kind of like relate to it and they need it. So, like, if I would have seen somebody my age who looked like me going through this on the internet, I would have felt way better and
Right.
way more validated. Yeah. And that was the other thing too, is it was always blamed on my weight as well. And I tell people all the time, I think it's worse now. And that's just, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've learned to manage it better now, but I do think it's worse now, because uh, I'm doing more. My body went through like this huge
Oh.
transformation.
Yeah, that makes
I'm
sense.
not eating as much as I used to, in a okay way, but like
Right.
I just don't eat as much as I used to. Yeah, I think it's just all the changes that my body went through in that like whole year and a half of losing weight, that like it just made it even worse. Um, yeah, so yeah, I got treated the same way about my mental health stuff too, and they thought it was because of my weight, and I'm like, it's like not any better now, so I don't really know what people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I
That kind of
feel
was a
about
weird
that.
tangent, but yeah.
Yeah, no, because like I said, I went to like a holistic health school, and that's one
Hmm.
of those things where everybody would kind of pile on is, doing A, B, and C is going to fix all of your problems. It's
Hmm.
just these couple little things, you guys. You're just a little out of
Yeah.
balance with your body.
No.
Things are more complicated than that. And I don't like
Yeah.
people trying to paint everything with this broad brush of,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, drinking enough water, getting sunlight, all those things
Absolutely.
are wonderful. And of course, they do good things for you, but that's not going to fix everything.
It's not everything. And yeah, and for me, like with my chronic fatigue, there's nothing I can do about it. Like vitamins don't make a difference. Like it just nothing can really be done about it. And um yeah, so I had to learn to kind of like pick and choose my energy battles for a longer time. And do I think exercising and eating well gives me more energy? Yes. But does it make the chronic fatigue go away? Absolutely not. Like I am still a certain level of physically exhausted all the time. It's
Right.
just a matter of how it fluctuates and how often. Um, yeah. So I'm just like uncomfortably open pretty much about everything.
Well, yeah, like you said, people need to hear that stuff because if they're going through something
Yeah.
similar, it really makes a big difference hearing somebody else talk about their
Yeah.
experience. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times people
Especially.
just don't know what's wrong. And so they just keep it to themselves and think,
Mhm.
there's something wrong with me. It's just me, you
Mhm.
know?
Especially the chronic illness stuff. Like that was, I did my whole senior project in school was about invisible illnesses
Mm-hmm.
and like invisible chronic illnesses. And because we put our like business cards and stuff by our projects, it was a gallery project,
Right.
so people could go see it. And I got texts, I got emails about how my project helped people mentally. I was told stories about people experiencing it by my friends who worked in the art gallery. And it just made me realize more how much people just need to like talk about stuff because it's really not. I mean, it is a big deal, but like it's also good to have people to relate to.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because there's way too much like health shaming going on. Everybody likes to think that they know the best way to do something. And
Mhm.
if you're doing it
Mhm.
differently or you have this problem and you're not
Mhm.
doing what I think you should do,
Oh,
then, you're just doing it wrong. And they're not doing
I
it.
got that
They're not
so
trying hard enough. They're a lost cause.
yeah, I got that so much with my weight loss surgery. Like I got, oh, you're so young, you can still do it naturally. Like, why are you getting surgery? And and like, I knew that was going to be a thing, so I wasn't too offended by it.
Right.
But it was just astounding to me the nerve that some people have. Like, I had friends' moms telling me that I was going to develop an eating disorder because of getting this surgery. And I'm like, how the hell do you even? I get really fired up about this. Like, how do you even know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what I'm doing is my business. And I didn't even have to tell people that I was doing this, but I felt like
Right.
I wanted to so that they knew what was going on with me because my friends and my friends' families are all pretty close. And so I wanted them to know what I was doing. And yeah, like this particular person, she worked in like a psych unit at the hospital, and she kept telling me like, oh, so many people are in there with eating disorders because they had bariatric surgery or because they like lost weight. Like, be careful. And I'm like, thanks. I really needed to hear that.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Don't go
uh
crazy.
yeah, don't go crazy because you're trying to get healthier. Like, whoa. And yes, it is a thing that happens. Like, I follow people on Instagram. Social media has been a very important part of me doing this because I've met people also having surgery at the same age as me, and it was nice to have people to relate
Right.
to and talk to and stuff. And I follow people who have developed eating disorders and stuff from weight loss surgery and from going through the process of losing weight. And that was something that I was a little bit scared of because I didn't know where my brain was going to go.
Right.
And But I didn't need to hear it from other people. Like that was just, it's like when people tell me they do something for their health, unless it's like absolutely just like ludicrous and does not make any sense, like scientifically, I'm like, whatever. If it helps, it helps. Good for you. Like, sounds good. But like, it's it's like with you when we were talking about previously about like the essential oil people,
Mm-hmm.
like if breathing in like the aromas of essential oils helps, which I do believe in that. I wish I could, but I have cats, so they're like kind of
Yeah, yeah,
toxic to
cats are a
cats.
no-no.
Um, yeah. Great. But don't eat them. Like that's just not that is something I'm very vocal about. Is like please don't eat them. Like that's just all I ask. Like don't feed them to your kids. Like
Right.
because there's science to back that up, you know.
Yeah, I
Whereas like if somebody's just saying like, "Hey, I do something because it makes me feel better," like if it's not hurting you or other people, then just go for it. But consuming essential oils does hurt you and can hurt
yeah.
other people. So
Yeah, like I said, yeah, that's the whole oil and water not mixing and
it doesn't.
the
Yeah.
sensitive tissues in your body and that oil is just sitting
Mhm.
right there on it and
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I just watched Unwell on Netflix, and the woman who was like part of one of those like MLMs that sold essential oils, she was told to like consume it, so she would put like lemon in her water in the morning, and she developed these like sores all over her body, and now she has an intolerance to all of these things
Yep.
because her body rejected it. And yeah, and the company refuses to take any responsibility for it, because she would talk in like her Facebook groups about like, yo, this is happening, like is this normal, and they'd be like, your body's just detoxing. And so she just kept doing it, and it's there's like a whole I don't know if you've watched it, it's Unwell on Netflix, but the first episode is about the essential oil industry and like in the pros and cons of it, and it's just fascinating
Yeah, I'll
and
have
really
to watch
sad.
that. I haven't watched it yet, but I'll have to do
It's
that.
about, yeah, it's about like weird health practices.
Hmm.
So like there's one about essential oils, there's one about like tantric sex, there's one about bee sting therapy, there's one about adults drinking breast milk, like all the it's fascinating.
Right.
It's fascinating. And like with the milk and stuff, I'm like, you know, if it's not hurting anybody, it's not hurting you, and
Yeah,
you
that's
feel like it
just
helps,
don't
good
waste
for
it,
you.
I
Like
guess.
I'm not gonna question it. Like just go for it. Like there's one guy in the episode who's a bodybuilder, and he drinks breast milk because he feels
Oh, the
like it
human
helps him
growth.
build
Yeah.
muscle. Yeah. I'm like, cool. If it helps, if it's placebo and you actually do gain muscle, great.
Right.
Keep
Yeah.
drinking the milk. I don't care. Like, but if it's gonna hurt you, like just don't do it. Like, and there's science saying it's going to hurt you.
Right.
Like, just don't do it. Like definitive science. Like there's science saying weight loss surgery hurts people, but that's like a minor number of cases. So it's like you just have to weigh your pros and cons.
Right.
But if it's like actually putting essential oils into your milk and or your cereal
Yeah,
and
using
eating it,
it
then
for
that
food flavorings and stuff like that. Like I've seen
just use
somebody.
that food.
Right. I know. I saw
Like
somebody use lemon essential oils to add to their guacamole because they didn't have citrus juice. And then they fed
go
it
to
to
the store.
like a 1-year-old
Yeah.
baby, and the
Yeah.
baby is like, "Bleh, bleh,
There's
bleh, bleh, bleh." It's just like, that's a
yeah.
little too harsh, don't you think?
There's
For,
a doctor. Yeah, there's a doctor in that show. A doctor. Well, he's a chiropractor, so he's a doctor, but he also is like licensed in oil,
mm-hmm.
whatever, like aromatherapy and oils and stuff. And which is cool. Like I have a cousin who did that. Like great. If you focus on like the aromatherapy of it all, cool,
Right.
whatever. But he was making an Elsa smoothie for his like 3-year-old daughter, and was putting like peppermint oil, like 2 big like squirts of peppermint oil into this smoothie and feeding it to his like 3-year-old.
Oh my
And I'm like, if
God.
that's harmful to an adult human body,
Right.
like how is that not gonna be harmful like doubly fast as like to a kid?
Right.
And so I just don't. And there's there's definitive science saying this is not cool.
Right.
Like this is not a good idea.
Yeah, I don't understand
And
people being
yeah.
that into them and not seeming to understand the concentration
Mhm.
of the dosages too. I mean, yeah, they smell nice and they come in little
Yeah.
bottles, so there's not a lot, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
And then
understand that.
yeah. There's a really high up like doTERRA rep that they interview too, and they show her having like a party at her house, and she put like essential oils in like a water tank thing, and like all the people at the party were drinking it. And I'm like, how is that not? How is that okay?
Right.
I don't understand.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because there's so
Because you're kind
many.
of forcing it on the people at that point
Right.
too.
Yeah. Them not knowing that that's in there. And I mean, what about the people who take the last few drinks because the oil's floating on the top the whole time? Unless they had some way to get it to like break it up so that it does. But I only know of like things like rubbing alcohol that does that to the oils to like actually make it
And you can't
spread.
drink rubbing alcohol.
Right.
So like what are you supposed to do? I don't know. But yeah. But yeah, if anybody tells me they're gonna do something because of their health, as long as it's not gonna hurt them or other people, like it's kind of just like whatever to me. Because I mean, I think we all have kind of weird things that we need to make us feel better. Like I do my nails when I'm stressed.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, like I don't know.
I know. I just take long baths, like way too long.
Yeah, but like you said, like the health shaming that is there is just very annoying.
Right.
And
I know, because it's bad enough we do it to ourselves a lot too. But then
we
to
don't
have
need
it
it
from
from
the
other
outside,
people.
yeah, makes it even worse. Right.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like people don't know exactly what you need and how you should do things. So
you know how you work and you know how your body
right.
works, and that's it.
Right.
So yeah. Like when people are like, should you eat that? I'm like, yes, I should.
Yeah.
Because you know why? I want to. And so I'm going to. And yeah. Because like when I was in my pureed stage after surgery, I eventually got, which I don't recommend this to anybody because it did not do good things, but I eventually got to the point where I was like, if anything's chewed enough, it's basically pureed. So I would eat like, I remember I was at a college event or something, and all they had to eat was like pizza, and I was like, I'm so hungry. And so I ate a piece of pizza, and it was like the tiniest one, but I just chewed it like all day long just so it wouldn't hurt my stomach.
Right.
I would not recommend doing that to anybody.
It didn't work.
But it filled me up. I had a very long day, so I had to do that. I had to eat something, and I didn't have time to order anything or go get any other food. So yeah, I ate a piece of pizza, but I felt like death afterwards. So I would not recommend anybody doing that when they're in period stage of surgery.
Super chewed is not.
But I had people asking me. Like, should you eat this? And I'm like, I have to. I want to. And I have to. Like, I have to eat something.
Right.
And I'm like, it's none of your beeswax. Like, just calm down. Like, just calm down. I'm going to be fine. Don't worry. But yeah, there's so much of that, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, I know. Because a lot of times people feel like they have to be so strict. And then if they see somebody else, like if you're trying to lose weight or you did this or that, you know, and you're not being strict with yourself, you know, like,
yeah,
I know they feel like gypped and like you're breaking the rules. You're supposed to be suffering more.
Yeah. And that's like a big thing. I'm going to do a video about like being treated differently after weight loss and stuff. And there were certain people in my life that like wouldn't have certain foods or whatever because they were afraid it was gonna like tempt me or like yeah. And honestly that kind of made me feel worse because I was like, wow, is that like, was I really that bad? Like, is it really that bad? Like and it also made me think about foods differently as well in like a not healthy way, like, oh, these are good, these are bad foods.
Right.
And so I think like, yeah, like we do that enough to ourselves. Like we really don't need other people to do that for us. Yeah, that just, yeah. And it's like, just mind your own business. It's fine.
Right.
we're all fine.
We're all fine. Yeah. I know,
Yeah.
because I mean, it takes a lot of practice to change your
Mhm.
attitude and your
Mhm.
behavior with food.
Mhm.
So it might
Mhm.
take a few times of trying to adjust your habits and your attitude towards things, but you can get there. You just
Yeah.
need to keep practicing
Yeah.
it.
And being around like foods that like maybe aren't the best for you is the only way you're ever going to have a healthy relationship with
Right.
food,
It's
is being
never going to
able to
be perfect
say,
conditions.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're never only going to have fruits and vegetables and like chicken around your house. Like it's going to be other stuff. And um I think hiding that from people. I mean, when I initially started losing weight, I lived with my mom, and there were times where I was like, Mom, you cannot have these in the house. Like, I will eat these. But that was when I was initially starting. And so
Right.
now it's so much different. Like, just because something's around doesn't mean I'm going to eat it. And if I do eat it, then whatever. But if I don't, like, that's even better. But yeah, like that's the only way you're ever going to be able to learn to have a healthy relationship with food, is having all kinds of food around you.
Yeah.
And learning to say no to maybe things that aren't as healthy, or uh, just learning to make those decisions. And I think people kind of butting in on it without you asking is really annoying and not healthy.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that happened a few times that I can remember, like food being hidden, or um, just like me not getting invited to things, but people just being really weary about me eating certain stuff.
Mm.
Like, it's really none of your business. Like, I know what this is gonna do, so I'm gonna eat it. Like,
Right.
it's fine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, because sometimes it's hard to treat yourself normal when, I mean,
Mhm.
if you're going through something like
When
that, and
other
then to have
people
other people
aren't.
be uncomfortable around you and like projecting issues onto you, and then you're
Mhm.
like, do I have that? Is that me?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
I dealt with that a lot around Thanksgiving.
Mm,
My first Thanksgiving, like after surgery, because I had my surgery in September, so Thanksgiving was a few months afterwards, and I was prepared for like this jokes, like the comments about what I was eating, but nobody ended up caring, which was really nice.
right.
But I was scared because I knew that that was very much a possibility, and whether they knew, like, I knew that if it did happen, it wasn't going to be coming from a place of like harm or like wanting to make fun of me. It's just like comments. But I think, like you said, projecting that onto people is not helpful at all.
Right.
At all. Yeah. Especially with food, because food is such a personal thing.
Yeah, it is.
Like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know, like what you were saying about like knowing you couldn't be around certain foods sometimes.
Mhm.
I will keep a food and just knowing that I
Yeah,
have it. And I
yeah,
like, because I think sometimes my issue is I if I don't eat it now, I won't get it later. So
yeah.
if like the family is eating, I know if I don't get my 2 pieces of pizza right now, somebody else is probably going to eat my other
Yeah,
piece. So
yeah.
I would catch myself eating at a sitting more than I actually wanted because I
Mhm.
was having like my share. But
Mhm.
I've had a
Yeah, I
brownie.
did that
I've
too.
I've had a brownie in the freezer for like a month. But that's
Yeah,
my brownie. And I know if
yeah.
I wanted it, I
See,
could get it.
I can't do that. Like, if I have a food that I love that is like terrible for me in my apartment, I will eat it in like 3 days.
Right.
Okay, this is really embarrassing, but I have the stuff to make these like oatmeal or like oat pumpkin chocolate chip cookies in my apartment, and I just haven't had time to make them.
Right.
I have gone through 2 bags of chocolate chips because
Waiting
I
to make
just
those.
eat them. Because I eat them and I'm like, well, now I have to go get more chocolate chips.
Right.
I have done that twice in the last 2 weeks because I just eat them like little like handfuls at a time.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the whole bag's gone in like 3 days. And I'm like, well, now I have. So I think after this, I'm going to go to Target and I'm gonna get chocolate chips, and I'm gonna come home and immediately bake these cookies because they can be made. And as cookies, they're okay for you because it's literally just like oats, pumpkin, chocolate chips, and like some spices, and
Right.
that's it. But like the chocolate chips as a whole are not good.
I know.
So I'm like, I need to make these into the healthier thing that they are meant to be, so I can have the sweet, like, say, like the satisfying
Right. Yeah, like the
sweetness
portioned out chocolate.
without eating a quarter of a bag of chocolate chips. Like, I just don't need. But that's how I am. And like, if I like with chips, like if I have like, a lot of times now I'll keep like veggie straws or like those kinds of things, like
Right.
chickpea chips and stuff, because I find they're a lot saltier, so I can just eat like less of them and be fine, like have that saltiness for the day.
Right.
For like my snack attacks at like 3 p.m. because I live at work now. And but if I have like those little bags like of like Doritos or like Cheetos, like the snack pack size ones, I will eat like 3 of them. And again, it's because I want them and I'm afraid somebody else is going to eat them, and like I
Right.
want that. So it's like, and I know that might not be the healthiest thing to think, and I didn't get to go through so much of like the psychological part of losing weight because I was losing weight while in school, and then I moved like right after I graduated, so I didn't really get to get into that. And now it's more like me dealing with my body dysmorphia in therapy. But there's still just some like weird like fat Megan ticks in my brain
Right.
that like I still have not fully resolved. They've definitely gotten better, but sometimes they just like peek out and they're like, you need to eat that whole bag of chocolate chips in 3 days, Megan, or else it's just like it needs to happen.
It just needs to
Or
happen.
it just needs to happen. And then it gets to the point where so many of them were gone that I no longer had enough.
That's
for the
right.
recipe.
And so all you can do with
So I'm
it
like,
is eat it.
I'm like, I spent the money on these chocolate chips. I'm not just going to throw them away. Like, that's not going to happen.
Right, yeah.
They're going to go in my belly. And you're PMSing right now, too. So that just makes
So this is like
worse.
medicine right now.
Yeah. And it's, oh my God. Like, I still definitely, those are like the 2 big things. Like, if I have a certain food in the house that I don't normally have, I will eat it in record time. And, just that whole thinking of like, okay, well, I went through that bag of chocolate chips, so I need to go get another one to actually make these cookies. And then I blow through like 3/4 of that and I don't have enough, so I just eat the rest.
I know, it's such a cycle.
It's just like, and it doesn't happen often. It's just when it's like those little like weird things that I buy for certain recipes that are good on their own. So I just need to make these cookies and get it over there. Because that was the whole thinking, was like, find a healthier sweet, Megan. Find a healthier like sweet snack, or just like dessert where you can have one and then it's done. And that involved buying a bag of chocolate.
That's so funny. I know. The same things happened in my house too many times.
Yeah. My dad would do the same thing. So like, I think that's like we're big snackers, my dad and I. Like, my mom would always like make fun of us because we just blow through bags of potato chips like it was our business. And like the problem was I was not an active person and he was, so it was okay for him. But for me, I'm like, yeah. And yeah, he'd always try and get me to be active, but I was a pain in the butt and I never did. But now I like it. So
right.
But yeah, I am a big snacker, and if it's an unhealthy snack, even better. So that's why I just don't keep those around my house. But that's something that I want to do. It's not other people deciding it for me.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm not going to get this because, like, I don't want you to feel tempted. It's like, Megan, you're not going to get this because you don't want to feel tempted.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference.
Yeah, and what is the pageantry around that? Like, the announcement people make about, I'm not going to get this because I... Like, why do they always have to say it?
Yeah, it was like when like trying to make dinner plans or something post surgery, they'd be like, Megan, can you eat anything here? And I'm like, yes, I can find something on the menu. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, if worse comes to worse, I will order the grilled chicken off the kids menu because for some that's the only place the grilled chicken is on the menu, on the kids menu. So, yeah. So I don't understand the pageantry of that either. Like, oh, you go here, we don't know if you can eat here. And I'm like, I can eat there. Calm down, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. I can read the ingredients. It's okay.
Right.
But yeah, there's a whole weird thing. But if I'm making those decisions for myself, then it's fine because that's what I want to do. So yeah. I don't know. I get kind of sassy now because I've lived with it for so long, and I'm like, it's really not that serious.
Right.
It's okay. Like I can go to Applebee's and find something. I love Applebee's. I'm weird. I'm very Midwestern in that I love Applebee's.
Yeah, I'm not picky about my food or my restaurants or anything. I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I will eat anywhere.
Right.
My parents made me try any and all foods, so I will eat anything once. I will try anything once. I'm not picky. Which was also part of the problem, I think, growing up. Was I just wasn't a picky eater, so I'd eat anything. But yeah.
Well, Megan, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I love that you made that video and you're helping people, with your story, and you've got so much to talk about. I love that you made a YouTube channel so you can have an opportunity to make videos on all these topics. And I really can't wait to see more of your stuff, more of your videos. I'm definitely watching.
I ordered an overpriced planner and pens last night to make an actual plan of what I'm going to do.
Fancy plans.
So, yeah. So I'm like, I'm committed now. I've bought a planner. So that's happening.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I appreciate it. This is really fun. This is so cool. I was telling people, I'm like, this is literally like my way of thinking, is like being healthy enough to where your life is good and you can do what you want to do and what you need to do, but not obsessing over it. Like
it's up to you to define what healthy is for you. And you don't have to do it the way anybody else does. You don't have to let anybody tell you you're wrong. No. You can figure it out. Yeah. Yeah.
You're a big kid. You can figure it out. And it's also just better for you mentally too, not having anybody telling you what to do. So,
right.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, because a lot of people do kind of rebel. And if you tell them to do something, they're just going to do it the opposite or different and all of that. So everybody needs to mind their own business.
You have to make that decision. And you know what's best for you, and you have to make that decision.
That's right.
That's like I tell people, like, when somebody says, I just don't understand why everybody doesn't get the surgery that you had to like lose weight. I'm like, because you have to make that decision and you have to be ready to make that decision.
Right.
And I honestly think it should be your last choice, but that's my personal opinion. But if that's what you want to do right away, then so be it. Do it. Like, and you're ready for it, do it. But it has to be your decision, and everything's different for everybody.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's funny how people all agree that everybody's unique and different, but then at the same time, people want you all to be the same, just do the same thing. The same thing should work for everybody, and that's just not how it goes.
It's just not how it goes. Nope. Everybody's brain is different. Everybody's body's different. It's just not how it goes. So. And if surgery has taught me anything, it's that. Like, if weight loss has taught me anything, it's how truly different everybody is from one another.
Right.
Because people have all achieved the same result of weight loss, but they've all done it vastly different ways.
Right.
And if it works, it works. And if it's healthy and if it works, like if it's not like super restriction, like anything like that, and it works, go for it. Like,
right.
That's all that matters. But yeah. So I'm going to go get those chocolate chips, and I'm actually going to make the cookies.
You better put it in a video or put it on Instagram. So.
I know. I'm going to. I'll be like, guys, I just did this podcast and I talked about how I ate 2 bags of chocolate chips before actually making these cookies. These are the cookies. And then I'll tag you in it.
All right.
So
thanks so much.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank you. Talking to you.
Fun.
I loved meeting you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You too.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is so fun.
And the next morning, I woke up to a delicious cookie pic. Make sure to check Megan out. Like I said, she's Megan Ann on YouTube, where she does cooking and talks about life stuff. But you can also find her on Instagram at Hey Look It's Megan. Thanks. Talk to you later.